welcome to our chili garlic oil event today. I am super excited for this. So if anyone who is currently an attendees here or might be watching live streamed on Instagram or LinkedIn, my name is Deanna. I am going to be your instructor today, bringing you through our Chinese chili garlic oil community event. Hi, Daniela, who just popped in. All right, we're going to be getting started in about 3 minutes. I want to give everyone a little bit of time to join the fun today. Hi, Tommy. Hello. Now, if you are going to be creating this chili garlic oil with me today, on my screen, I just have some prep instructions that'll be really great to start doing if you'd like. Let me lower this just a bit in case you can't hear me. There we go. So if you would like to just begin getting some stuff together, we're going to need a lot for this class. There are a lot of different types of ingredients, right? But we also have a lot of kitchen utensils that'll be really fabulous to have out. So on my screen, I currently have a list of some of that kitchen equipment. I'll also be saying it as we go along. So if you miss out on grabbing it right now, no problem at all. Also, we are going to be recording this event and posting it to YouTube at a later time. So if you're just watching along to hang out for right now, totally cool. And if you're going to make it again later, you'll be able to follow along with that video. So if you're just here to hang out, hello, here for the vibes. But if you are making this with me today in our event, you can go right ahead and start gathering up your stuff. Again, my name is Deanna. I'm going to be your instructor today. I'm really excited to bring you this event. I feel like it's really different and unique for a lot of people, so I'm excited to be able to share some fun facts and to just create this recipe together. So again, we're going to give it just another maybe 2 minutes to allow people to come on in. So hello to my attendees here. We're also live streaming this. So hello to anyone who's on Instagram or LinkedIn. My name is Deanna. I am so excited to be here with you today. I'll be repeating myself just a little bit right now. So if you already heard this, I'm so sorry. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I want to make sure we are all prepared for today's community event. We are going to be making a chili garlic oil. It's going to be really delicious, super spicy. So if you are creating this recipe with me today, you will know that you have your kit or your ingredients, and there's a lot of stuff. And then we also have a list right now on my screen. I'm sharing just some great kitchen utensils that you'll want to grab and have set up. I'll also be going through this list, of course, as we go in class. So if you miss something now, no problem. And we are recording this, so if you wanted to watch it back at a later time, or maybe you want to share the link later with someone because you just had so much fun, or maybe you're just watching right now to kind of take it all in, and then later you're going to create the recipe on your own, we'll be able to provide that link later. All right, so I just looked at the time. I think it's a great time to get started. So hello, everyone. If you want to drop in the chat box, say hi to me, you absolutely can. But again, my name is Deanna. I am so excited to be here today. We are going to be creating a chili garlic oil. So if you've never had chili garlic oil, you are in for a treat. Or maybe you've had it and you've never tried to make it at home. I am so thrilled to be able to bring you this recipe. So again, on my screen, I just have my prep instructions. Right now, if you wanted to start grabbing some things, if you're making this with me today and you received a kit, having your kit open, there's lots of really great goodies in there and ingredients we're going to be learning about today. But of course, having a nice clear space. Hello, Amy is obsessed with chili garlic oil. Me too. And we're going to talk a little bit later. I'm going to tell you like ways that you could utilize this, but it could really go on anything, and I put it on absolutely anything. So I'm so glad you're here today, Amy. All right, so having a nice clear space. So right now I am calling you from my kitchen, of course, and this is my counter space and my stove. I just want to make sure that we are able to see. So I'm currently talking to you from a camera that has my face. Hello, that's where my audio is coming out of. But I also have my phone camera facing down on my workstation, so you could see my stove and my pot. You're going to see my cutting board. At some point, right after I'm kind of done with my little prep instructions and stuff, I will be turning the camera off facing my face, but my audio will still come out of it. So I'll let you know when I'm turning it off. I just want to make sure that if you have to like readjust your gallery, you're able to see and hear me still. All right. So, of course, we today are going to be creating some Chinese chili garlic oil, and we're going to talk about some fun facts about Szechuan cuisine. We're going to be able to talk about a lot of the ingredients in your kit. So, I'm hoping I'm able to kind of share some really great knowledge with you today, as well as come out of this with something super tasty and delicious. So, that's what you have to look forward to for our short time here together. I am going to just kind of stop sharing my screen here. Hello. So you could see me and my workstation right now. All right. So at this point, I am going to be turning my camera off for my faces. I'm going to turn it off so we could really focus on my workstation. So I just want to make sure again that my voice is coming out of my camera that's off, but all the magic is going to happen right here. I've got my chopping board with a lot of wonderful ingredients on it, and I have my pot here. All right, everyone. So today, chili garlic oil. If you have never had it before, it is absolutely delicious. It's really versatile. You could use it on truly anything, and it actually comes along together fairly quickly if this is your first time creating it. So I'm really excited to get into it. Today we'll be making a Szechuan style chili garlic oil. Szechuan cuisine uses lots of bold flavors and spice combinations. So if you received a kit, you'll see a lot of different aromatics, different types of chilies and spices. So garlic chili oil is such a wonderful way to experience some important flavors of the culture. So we're going to get into that more in depth later on. But for right now, I want to get our station set up so we can get this oil on to start. So the first thing we'll be working with is our fresh aromatics, right? So you're going to see if you're working with me today that you have both fresh aromatics and some wonderful dry ones. The first thing we want to start though is with cutting of our fresh aromatics, right? So we're going to be having an onion, some ginger, and a lot of great garlic. So let's start working with our onion first. So let me clear a little space here on my cutting board. Let's work with our onion first. So you have a yellow onion. Now, we're only going to be working with half of this onion, but let's start to peel it. So if you have this very papery, thin skin coming off, you can take that off and get rid of it right from the start, right, if you have that. Once that kind of first layer of papery skin that's kind of falling off is off, we're going to find sort of the little head of our onion. So you're going to see it's like this little nub. There's two sides of the onion, right? We have our root and then sort of this little head. So kind of like mine's kind of got a little hair sticking out. We want to just cut off the hair. So not the root. We want to cut off just like the head of our onion first. Once you've done that, we're going to cut our onion in half. But when you're cutting in your onion in half, we want to make sure that we cut it in half through the root. Cut it in half through the root so that each half of your onion will have a piece of root holding it together. Right? So I'm going to cut my onion in half through the root so that each half has a bit of that root that can hold it together. Okay? At this point, we only need one half, right? So you can go right ahead and put the other half of your onion off to the side. You could place it in a container to put into your fridge. We only need half of your onion. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, we just currently cut our onion in half through the root so that each half has a bit of the root to hold it together. And once you have one half of your onion, now you can peel the first layer of your onion. So peel the first layer of skin off, right? You can see I'm peeling mine off, and you can get rid of that. So I like to cut the onion first because I think it helps to loosen up that first layer of skin. So I'm just walking off so that I could peel that layer of skin off of that one half of my onion and I could just get rid of it. Okay. And now I have half of an onion with the skin removed. Now we're just going to very simply slice this onion. So I'm going to start at the end that doesn't have my root, and I'm just going to cut slices of onion. So if you could see, this is sort of what they look like. They're like little uh, crescent moons or half moons or rainbows, right? Shape of my onion. Now you don't need a particular amount, and you can sort of kind of chop them a little roughly. You don't need to try to make sure that they're all the same uh, thickness, but I do have them kind of thin. They're not papery thin, but they're not too thick. So this is what mine are looking like. But we're going to do this for the whole half of this onion we're working with. Right, so we're cutting slices of our onion. As you can see, I've got lots of slices that I am building up over here in a pile. And we're going to do this until we reach the root. Because at that point, you're all done. You cut your whole onion, right? All right. Right, I got my little bit of root. I could just get rid of that. All right. So I've got my pile of onion here. And I'm going to just place it off to the side. So I'm going to just kind of put it in just a little container just to make sure I've got some nice space on my cutting board. So you can see what we're about to do next. The next step is working with our garlic. So this is chili garlic oil, right? So we want a lot of garlic. About 5 to 6 cloves will be wonderful. Now you could always add more of any of these fresh aromatics if you'd like. So if you really love that onion and you do want to slice up some extra, you can. Or if you're like, I want to make this as garlicky as possible, you can as well. I'm going to be working with 5 pieces here, but 5 to 6 cloves would be great. Now, what we want to do is just like with our onion, we want to remove the skin from our garlic cloves. So I've got 4 sort of naked garlic cloves over here, and I've got one that still has the skin on. So I could show you a way that you can remove the skin. So if you already are good to go, you can start peeling your garlic. But if you wanted one way that is kind of the most uh, basic way is taking the side of your knife, laying it flat on your garlic clove, and you can take your palm and just sort of press down onto your garlic clove. Press down onto your garlic clove just gently until you hear a little bit of a crack. This helps to just loosen up the skin. As you can see, I'm able to sort of peel my skin now of my garlic. So you could do that, just sort of pressing down onto your garlic until you hear a little bit of a crack. Another way that is sort of really fun, especially when you're working with a lot of garlic, is that I will take all the garlic cloves I'm working with and I will put them in a mason jar with a lid, or you can put them in a Tupperware or even like a small pot with a lid. Anything that you could really, really vigorously shake up. And that friction while you're shaking it up is going to help to loosen that skin as well. So when you're working with a lot of garlic cloves, sometimes this is really helpful. So those are just a couple tips if you wanted. But either way, we are going to need our garlic cloves peeled. And just like with our onions, we are going to create slices of our garlic, right? So I'm going to start and make these right at the top of the garlic, and I am just cutting sort of roughly. You could see some circular garlic discs, just slices. Again, you don't need any particular amount. We don't need them to be any particular thickness. But you could see I've got just these nice little slices of garlic. So we're going to do that for all of my garlic. Right, so to make sure we are all on the same page, we're currently slicing our garlic. We had just sliced our onions. So it's already starting to smell great in here. Anytime you have garlic and onion cut up and added to the mix, it's already a wonderful, wonderful scent in the kitchen. There's such a good base for, so many recipes. All right, I have a pile of wonderful garlic here that I'm going to place just in a little pile on the side of my chopping board. All right. Because the next thing I want to work with is my ginger, right? So I've got some ginger root here. So once you are done chopping up your garlic into just nice little discs, you could grab your ginger. Now we're only going to need about a 1-inch piece of ginger. So as you can see, I've got a lot more than that here. You might have just the perfect amount, or you might have a little bit more. So I'm actually just going to pull off one of my little knobs of ginger. That looks like about a great size to me. So you could either, if you kind of have a knobby ginger, you can pull off a piece, you could cut off a piece. If you already have about 1 inch, amazing. It's okay if you have a little bit more or a little bit less, of course. Now, the great thing about ginger is the skin is very soft, so it comes off really, really easily. So when we peel it, something that we could do is we could utilize a spoon. We can take a spoon and we can just scrape the skin off, right? And you'll see it comes off really easily. So you can already see, right, I got some of like the flesh of my ginger showing. So you could do this, again, just to make sure we're on the same page. We are starting to, whenever you're done with your garlic and your onion, we're starting to peel our ginger. We need about 1-inch piece of it. And I'm just using a spoon because the ginger skin is really soft. It comes off very easily with a spoon, right? If you did want to utilize your knife, though, you can. You can definitely use that to sort of shave the sides of your ginger or to cut it off, or even use the dull part of your knife to sort of scrape. Right? But we're all focusing on this. Now, I do want to say, although we're only working together in our event, as far as my presentation goes, with 3 aromatics, like fresh aromatics with ginger, garlic, and onion, if you had something else at home you wanted to use too, like a green onion or scallions or even cilantro, you could absolutely utilize that as well. So if you wanted to add a little extra freshness to this, you can. But for the purposes of my demonstration today, this is what I'll be using. Right? And this will be very aromatic as is, so no problem if you are also just going to stick along with me. I'm going to sort of shave the sides on this part because it's a little rougher and a little knobbier. So again, another option, you could absolutely utilize your knife to sort of cut or shave the sides of your ginger as well. Okay. All right. And now you can see I've got my ginger root, my 1-inch piece about where I've removed the skin. And if you're following along with our theme of peeling and cutting into nice slices, this is exactly what we're going to do for our ginger. We are just going to cut slices of ginger. So you can see I've got these little slices. Also, I love the smell of ginger, so I'm quite happy. All right, everyone. So now I have a little pile of some sliced fresh ginger. All right. So I hope it's going well out there for you. We have onion, we have garlic, we have ginger, and we're almost going to get to our oil on the stove. But before we do, I just want to give you a moment if you wanted to start opening up some of your dry ingredients. Right? So you're going to have a lot if you received a kit today, or if you're following along with your own supplies, you're going to see a lot of little packages of dry aromatics. If you wanted to just sort of rip that top off and have those open, you don't have to take anything out. But I just think it's a nice time to sort of open up and prepare um, our packages so that when the time comes to throw them into the pot or to use them somewhere else, they're sort of already open and ready for you. So again, if you wanted to take a moment right now before we get our oil on the stove to just start opening up some of your dry ingredients, you absolutely can. And then we can get prepared with our pot on the stove. Okay. So I have a medium pot here, as you could see, right next to my cutting board is a medium-sized pot. Okay, there we go. Well, make sure you could absolutely see that. Wonderful. All right. So you can get yourself your pot on your stove. And we're also going to need our oil. So today we are using canola oil. When creating chili garlic oil, you want to use a neutral oil with a high smoke point. So we provided canola, but if you did have a different oil that you prefer, that is both a neutral oil with that high smoke point, you could use that. So that might look like something like a vegetable oil, I believe maybe even an avocado oil. Typically in Szechuan cooking, you would use a toasted rapeseed oil. So anything that doesn't have its own strong flavor, I would not suggest using olive oil, as olive oil is quite known for its strong flavor. We want something that is neutral, right? So it can take on the flavors we're infusing it with without overpowering in its own flavors, right? So we have canola oil here. It also has a high smoke point because we are getting this on the stove to boil that oil up. So it's going to get quite hot. Okay, so let's grab our oil. We need to pour 2 3/4 cup of oil into our pot. So 2 cups and 3/4 of a cup. 2 3/4 of canola oil into our pot. Okay. All right. Once you have that in your pot, you can go right ahead and turn up the heat. Turn up the heat on your oil. I'm going to start out closer to high heat because we're looking to get our oil between 250 and 275 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have a kitchen thermometer, you could use that to test the temperature, of course. But if you don't, then I have a couple options on how we can test our heat levels. So right now we have our heat on high so that we can start to get this really nice and hot. Here's an option. One option that we could do if we don't have a thermometer. So I want you to take one of your slices of onion, just a piece of your onion. So I have a little slice of my onion, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces from that. So I've got 2 small pieces of onion. I'm going to keep those off to the side because one way that we can test the temperature of our oil is by placing in a fresh piece of food. We can throw it in, not right now. We want to wait 'cause it's definitely not hot enough yet. But by throwing in a fresh piece of food, we get to see how the oil sort of interacts with it. And when it's hot enough, the oil is really going to bubble and kind of splutter around that piece of food. Another way that you can test without a thermometer, and if you didn't want to use a piece of food, is utilizing a wooden chopstick or the back of a wooden spoon. And it would be very similar where you would stick that wooden spoon or chopstick into your oil and the oil would sort of bubble around that wood. So these are ways that we're able to check if you don't have a thermometer, right? And so that helps us. We're just going to give it another minute. And then once it does become hot enough, we're actually going to turn the heat down to a medium low. So we want to wait until it gets nice and hot. So if I was to take a wooden, right, so right now you can see there's sort of no bubbling effect around my wooden chopstick, so it's not ready yet. Now, something else I want to say is we are working with hot oil, right? So we want to make sure that we are being really careful, especially as we're throwing in our aromatics, because it might splatter a bit, right? So we just want to make sure that we're being really careful. Okay. So again, to make sure we're all on the same page, we're going to be waiting until this gets to about 250, 275 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have a kitchen thermometer, you're kind of set to be able to test this out and see how hot your oil is. But if you didn't have a thermometer, then you could utilize two techniques of either cutting a piece of one of your fresh ingredients. So I have just two pieces of onion here. If you wanted to cut a piece of garlic or a piece of ginger, or you could use a wooden chopstick or the back of a wooden spoon. And what you would do is you would either stick the chopstick in or the back of a wooden spoon in or throw in your fresh ingredient and you watch as the oil interacts with it. So it might start to splutter and bubble up around it. Okay, I hope everyone is doing good out there. Let me know if you have any questions. So let's see. I'm starting to see just a little bit of some very small bubbles start to form around my chopstick. So I believe this will be definitely pretty close soon. So let's see if I throw in a piece of my onion. Let's see how much. Ooh. So you could see, right? Look at that reaction. It's really bubbling around it. And this is exactly what I want. So if you're able to see sort of inside my pot right now. So at that point, I'm going to turn my heat down to, sort of a medium to low. Medium to low. Right? So once it's really bubbling, you can still see it bubbling in there. I want to turn my heat down medium to low. Because when I add my ingredients, I want them to fry, but I don't want them to burn immediately upon putting them in there. So medium to low heat. Wonderful. Then we could start to add our fresh ingredients. So the very first thing I want you to do is add in your ginger. So I'm going to add my ginger in. I'm going to sort of place it in my spoon and put it in. And then I'm going to stir it. If you feel like it is bubbling a little too much, maybe you have to just turn your heat down a little bit more to that lower temperature, right? Medium to low. We really are just going to want our ingredients sort of simmering in there. So I put my garlic in. I gave it a real, I put my ginger in. I gave it a really quick little stir. The next thing I want to do is add in my garlic. Add in my garlic. Add your garlic in. Give that a nice stir as well. after giving that a little bit of a stir, you can finally add your onions. You can finally add your onions. Right, so it's getting a little hot in here. Mine's bubbling up, so I am just lowering that a bit more. So make sure, right, as you're adding them in, you sort of pay attention to how quickly things are bubbling. You want this to be much more on the lower side. We're going to be simmering these ingredients, and they do kind of bubble and splatter. So just to make sure we were all on the same page, we have added in our fresh aromatics. We have ginger, garlic, onion. We are gently stirring that. We're going to let these simmer for about a minute. Let these simmer for about a minute. Let's see. Claire says I can smell the lovely smells from here. I know, and it does. It smells so good immediately. And you're going to start to see things are going to get this kind of brownish, this golden brown. That's what we want. We are frying these, right? All right. So while this simmers for just about a minute, we want to start to gather our dry aromatics. Our dry aromatics, right? So your ingredients are already nice and measured out for you. So you should be able to just grab a bag, open it up, and throw it in here. But I will say the amounts anyway. We have 3 bay leaves. You can see I have a small little cup. I've got 3 bay leaves. I've got 3 pieces of Chinese black cardamom. I've got 2 pieces of star anise. And I have 1 tablespoon of Szechuan peppercorns in here. So you have bay leaves, black cardamom, star anise, and Szechuan peppercorns. Those are our dry aromatics that we'll be adding to our oil. So I'll repeat that one more time. I'm also just giving my fresh aromatics a stir. We have 3 bay leaves, 3 pieces of Chinese black cardamom, 2 pieces of star anise, 1 tablespoon of Szechuan peppercorns. I am adding all of that to my oil. It also smells just incredible. All of these spices together are just so beautiful. You know, no wonder we call them aromatics. All of them are so strong in their flavors and they come together so beautifully. So we have added all of our dry aromatics to our pot. We're going to let this fry up for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, or until they get golden brown and fragrant. So you can even do this for longer. You can do this up to 20 minutes, but they're going to fry up in there. They're going to get really nice and golden brown and smell delicious. So you can occasionally stir this, occasionally stir it while we work with our spice mix that we're going to be putting together right now. So I want you to grab a bowl. This is either going to be a ceramic bowl or any bowl that can withstand the heat of our oil, because later on we're going to be pouring all of our oil into it. So some type of bowl that is able to withstand the heat of the oil and also to be able to accommodate all of the oil we're working with today. So I want you to grab something like that. Okay. Into this bowl, we are going to pour some dry ingredients, some powders that you're going to have. You're going to find a Thai chili powder. It might say Thai chili powder. It might say crushed Szechuan. You're going to have a bag of that, some type of Thai chili powder. So I'm going to add that myself. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of my Thai chili powder. And I'm a little less than 3, so I'm going to grab some extra I have. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons of Thai chili powder. Wonderful. The next thing we're going to find are just some regular Red chili flakes, right? You're gonna have some chili flakes. So after your Thai chili powder, we're gonna add your chili flakes. That's 3 tablespoons. And the last thing you're going to find is some toasted sesame seeds, and we can add 3 tablespoons of those roasted white sesame seeds. So I have 3 different types of sort of spices and chilies in here, and my sesame seeds. I've got my regular chili flakes, I've got my Thai chili powder, and I've got my roasted white sesame seeds. Let's go ahead and give this a little bit of a stir, just to get all of that nice and incorporated and combined. At this point, if you wanted to, just a reminder to give your oil a little bit of a stir. Wonderful. Once we have all that combined, we're actually going to grab our bottle of oil and add just a little bit to this. We're going to add about a 1/4 cup of canola oil to our dry mix. And that's going to help ensure that later our spices don't burn, but instead sizzle, which is exactly what we want. So adding a little bit of that neutral oil to our spice mix is going to help to make sure that it doesn't burn. So let's give that a really nice stir. Get all of our dry spice mix nice and coated in that oil. Again, helping us later to ensure that it doesn't burn. Okay. All right. And again, remember, just keep giving your oil a nice stir. It just smells incredible. It's so wonderful. So while we give our ingredients about 5 more minutes or so, and again, if you feel like you want longer, if you want these to really get that nice golden brown or get a bit more aromatic, you can absolutely give your your olive oil, your oil mixture up to 20 minutes, right? Up to 20 minutes. But while we give that a moment, let's talk a bit about some of the ingredients that we're using today. So one of the major ingredients that we added earlier is a Szechuan peppercorn. These peppercorns are prominent in Szechuan cuisine because they provide this really nice spicy and mouth-numbing effect, which this mouth-numbing effect is sort of one of like the prominent things that you can experience when eating, Szechuan cuisine. It's sort of a trademark flavor of the food. Peppercorns, the Szechuan peppercorns, contain a molecule called hydroxy alpha santual. And this molecule causes this sort of tingling sensation. It's almost like tiny micro vibrations on your tongue and your lips. It's really interesting. And so if you've ever eaten a lot of Szechuan cuisine, or you've always wanted to try it, it's definitely something that you'll find. Garlic and ginger are also some of the foundational aromatics in Szechuan cooking. Not only do they provide a wonderful fragrant base, of course, but they help to balance and sort of complement the heat from the various chilies that are used, which of course we have plenty here, right? So those chilies are a staple. They provide varying spice levels, but also beautiful color. As we've mixed this together, you can see it's this really gorgeous red, bright red already. And later on, it's just going to get more just deep red. But we also use star anise, which is a prominent flavor as well. It's also part of the Chinese 5 spice powder, if anyone's ever heard of that before, along with Szechuan peppercorns. So this blend of spices is very commonly used in Chinese cuisine. Star anise is sweet, almost licorice-like. It's got quite an intense aroma and adds a wonderful warmth. And last but not least, something I want to highlight is Chinese black cardamom. A lot of people are familiar with green cardamom, as this is what cardamom powder is made out of. So you might have green cardamom right in your cabinet, your spice cabinet. If you have cardamom powder, it's sweet, right? It's almost floral, and it's allowed to be used in desserts as well as savory. But it's definitely much different than the cardamom we're using today. A black cardamom is very pungent and smoky flavor, so the two cannot be used interchangeably. All right, so I'm gonna give this another stir, and we are going to be getting this into our spice mix in just a moment. Again, if you wanted to give yours a little bit longer, you absolutely can. So what we're going to be doing in just a moment, if you are going to be taking your oil and putting it into your mix with me, we're going to need to be removing the aromatics. And you can just give it one moment. I'm going to sort of explain what we'll do. So we'll give it a little bit longer on the stove. But some options you have to remove your aromatics would be utilizing either a slotted spoon that fits into your pot or a strainer or a sieve that fits into your pot, which you'll be able to scoop out your aromatics with. If you don't have something like this that is small enough to fit into the pot that you're using, you could easily just take that strainer and place it over your bowl. And later on, we could sort of pour it in and it'll be able to strain through catching those aromatics. So those are just some options you have as far as removing the aromatics, because although they smell beautiful, we're actually not going to need them, right? Right now they're getting nice and beautifully infused, and then we can remove them. All right. So if you wanted to go ahead and grab yourself um, a slotted spoon or your strainer, you can do that right now. Amy's thinking about adding this to dinner tonight. Heck yeah, definitely utilize it immediately. And you're gonna have so much of it too, and it's gonna be able to go on quite literally anything. All right, everyone. So if you are, whether you're choosing to remove the aromatics now, or you are just going to strain yours over your dried chilies, I'll sort of show you what I'm talking about. If I was to remove the aromatics, you could see mine is able to just fit in there enough that I could scoop out my aromatics. I'm just going to place them into a separate bowl. Oh, they smell so good. Right? So you could remove them if you want to remove as much as you can. You could do that. All up to you. So that's an option. But whether or not you are removing them right now or not, we actually want to put the heat up a bit more. We want to bring the heat back to a bit higher of a temperature so that it's really bubbling around your ingredients. We want to bring the heat back a little higher. So now medium to high heat. Give it a minute to get back to that higher temperature. And of course, if you wanted to really check it, you could take a piece of white onion or food, throw it in, watch as it bubbles and sizzles, and you'll be able to tell, okay, it's back. It shouldn't take too long because it has been continuously simmering. Now we're going to be putting this into our chili powder sort of mixture we have here. But before we put it all in, we actually want to start with a little spoonful at a time. A little spoonful at a time. And then once you add that spoonful, you can mix. So we add a little spoonful at a time. So you can grab just a bit and then put that into your chili mixture and then mix. We're going to do that just a couple times. The reason we want to add a little spoonful at a time is just another way that we can ensure we are not going to burn our spice mixture, because we allow it to sort of be introduced to the heat that we're going to be adding to it. So it's just another sort of safety. Ooh, a way that we can make sure we're not going to be burning it. All right. I'm going to turn my heat off. And at this point, I am going to take my strainer. I'm going to place it over my spice mixture, my chili spice mixture. I'm going to grab my pot and I am going to pour it through. And you can see it is starting to sizzle. All right, look at that. It is super sizzling. I'm going to take a spoon or my chopsticks and I'm going to stir it as it sizzles. Stir it as it sizzles. And that's exactly what we're looking for, this really nice sizzling. It helps to, using hot oil really helps, it's sort of like a punch to it to help release these beautiful aromas and flavors, right? And once it sort of comes down, you'll be able to see, let me get a spoon in there. It's this beautiful red, orange. It's really lovely. All right. Now, at this point, it is very hot, right? You can keep it as it is right now. If you wanted to, an optional choice is to add maybe a teaspoon of sugar or two. You could add a bit of salt. You could throw in some sliced fresh garlic. Those are all optional choices, but it is perfect just as it is like this. Yes, you can absolutely, if you wanted to, simmer your garlic and ginger longer. With your onions, you can definitely simmer it up to 20 minutes. Simmer it until it gets this really nice golden brown. Just make sure you don't burn it. Those aromatics, but yeah, you could absolutely simmer it quite longer if you'd like and really allow those flavors to get really rich in there. Now this is quite hot, right? So we're going to allow this to cool. I want you to allow it to cool completely before placing it in. I'm going to turn my camera on back here. Hello, so you can see me here. I want you to allow this to cool completely before placing it in any plastic or glass containers. That's something that's really important. It's going to take some time. But once you're ready to eat this, you can use it for such a variety of things. You can drizzle it over top noodles, dumplings, pasta, pizza, eggs, avocado toast, tofu dishes, rice. I mean, you name it, you can put this on it. You can create a spicy mayo out of it, which would be pretty fun. Put it on a sandwich. So your possibilities are kind of endless there. So get creative and enjoy. You have a lot, right? Now, once this is cooled, oh, or maybe even just like a little cucumber salad, right? Cut up some fresh vegetables, pour it on that. Just have fun with it. Now, once it does cool completely and you're able to put it away, you can put it into the fridge, store it in the fridge, and you'll have chili garlic oil for months, I promise you. Well, everyone, thank you so much. Time really flies when you're in the kitchen. So I'm just looking at the time. Thank you for sticking around with me, for hanging out. I'm really excited for you. If you made it along with me, let me know how it goes. If you're still sort of allowing your your aromatics to simmer on the stove, I totally understand. Really get that depth of flavor. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick with everyone just to give you a little closing remarks. So first and foremost, I want to thank you again so much for being here. Hello. I want to thank you so incredibly much for being here. If you enjoyed today and you want to come to some other free workshops that we have, I'm going to give you a couple dates that you're absolutely going to want to save. So get your calendars out. On May 7th, our next community event is going to be a llama viewing. You're going to meet llamas, so you're going to want to come to that, right? You got to be here for that one. June 4th, we're going to be pinata making, these beautiful color pinatas. I really celebrate summer. And then on July 2nd, we are churro making. So really, you kind of got two opposites here. You have this really savory, wonderful sauce, and then you're going to make something super sweet and tasty in July. So definitely come for that. And then if you'd love to celebrate AAPI month over here with Food Craft, is really important to us. We have a lineup of amazing classes. Of course, our chili garlic oil, but also we've got some cocktails and mocktail classes, sushi, henna, mandala, magnet making, sumi painting. So this is a lot of really exciting stuff, and we would absolutely love to see you there. So everyone, Thank you so much for joining me. If you created this today, you're creating it in the future, take a picture. If you want to share it on social media, we would love to see it. If you're going to be creating it at a later time, we will be posting this to YouTube so you can follow along with me there. We'll also be sending out an email. It's going to have all the information that you need to create this if you haven't or if you want to create it again. It's also going to have a link to our Google reviews. So if you'd love what you saw here today and you want to leave us a little review, maybe post your picture of what you made. I would love to see them. All right, everyone, thank you so incredibly much for joining me. Enjoy eating your spicy chili garlic oil basically on anything, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Thank you. Bye, everyone.